Hey guys, are you having to run the same commands on your Raspberry Pi during reboot or startup? Stop the repetitive tasks like manually starting your projects every time your Pi boots. There's actually countless ways to get the Raspberry Pi to run commands, scripts, or programs at startup. And in this video, I'm going to show you two of the fastest ways for you to do this. Let's start by SSHing into your Raspberry Pi, or you can start its terminal. The first approach is the most easiest and basic way to do this. Let's modify the rc.local file that's in the etc folder by running the following sudo nano command. And we're going to first test this out by running an echo command and writing the output to a text file during startup. And every time we need to add a command or script in this file, you always want to add it at the end but before the exit 0 section. To walk you through this command, I'm telling my Raspberry Pi to print this message and then write it to a text file. And once we're done adding the command, we can simply save by hitting Ctrl X followed by Y and then hitting enter. Now let's restart the Raspberry Pi by running sudo reboot. Okay, so since my Pi is back up and running again, I'm going to navigate to my logs folder where that file should be, and I'm typing in ls to see the contents of my logs folder. And as you can see, the file has been created during startup, and if I open it using nano, we can see that our command was successfully run once my Raspberry Pi booted up. And I'm going to run sudo nano again to jump back to the rc.local file. As you can see, the command I added earlier is super simple, but what if you had a program that needs to be running continuously? So for example, in a previous video I showed you how to run a Discord bot in Python. So this is a type of script that never ends and it usually runs all the time. So let me now show you how to add something that needs to be running in the background. First of all, I'm specifying the full path of where my Python installation is located. After that, my next parameter is the location of the script, which is bot.py. And finally, the most important part is the third parameter, the ampersand. That's actually what's telling the shell that it doesn't need to wait for the command to finish. And it tells your Raspberry Pi to run that Python script in a separate process. This way, it can continue processing any other commands while the startup continues. And another way that you can run commands and scripts at startup is by using crontab. And yes, I've done a video showing you how you can schedule commands during various hours of the day or days of the week. But believe it or not, crontab lets you do this during system reboots as well. So let's open up our cron jobs by running sudo crontab -e. And at the bottom of the file, we're gonna add an entry called @reboot. After that, we're running a very identical command that we used earlier that writes some text inside a file. And I'm running a basic command here, but you can pretty much run any command, script, or program that you want running each reboot. Just keep in mind that each command that you add here needs to be placed on a new line. Before you save and exit, crontab also requires a new line after the last cron job entry to actually work. So once you're done, let's press Ctrl X followed by Y and then hitting enter. And I'm gonna reboot one more time to show you the reboot cron job was picked up. So my Raspberry Pi is now booted up again, and if I open up that file using sudo nano, you can see that it successfully ran during startup since that line was added here. And one more thing you may have noticed, the command we added to our rc.local file kicked in after the cron job. That's because the rc.local file is typically processed after everything else has finished during boot up. So really, I've provided two common ways to run things during your Raspberry Pi startup. So if you just need a quick and dirty way to get the job done, you can either modify the rc.local file or crontab. But if you need specific services like networking to be online first, I'll be doing a video on another approach using systemd, where you have more control over these kinds of conditions. Thanks for watching, and for more on Raspberry Pi, please consider subscribing to this channel.